Okay, so I guess I wanna add a little more to my interface, and I need to make enough room for it. So how big am I gonna make it? Let's see. Maybe 600 by 400. That seems like a good size. Because 150 by 150 is certainly not going to be a big enough. I'm just going to say 600 by 400 in here, more magic numbers. Usually bad style, but I'm just trying to get something done quick and dirty that's going to show audio stuff as a visualization on the screen. Not real fancy, not a lot of high-level processing, but just something so that we can get some visualization of our sound. Let's see, if I've got 600 by 400 now to work with, I've got a button on my screen. I'm going to move the button up to the left-hand corner. So I'm just going to move it so that's 5, 5 away from the upper left-hand corner to make more room for my WeHavViz. And now I'm going to create an instance of WeHavViz. I've got to declare a variable to hold it. So I'm going to say private WeHavViz. I'm going to call it myViz. We can call it anything we want. We just have, once we've got a name, we've got to use that name consistently. I'm going to say myViz equals new WeHavViz. Now I'm calling the constructor. You might notice that I never wrote a constructor here. And that's interesting. How can that be? Well, if you don't write a constructor, then Java will create a thing for you that it calls the default constructor. Now, the default constructor, what does it look like? It looks like public void WeHavViz. And I'm going to say for now that there's really nothing in there, okay? There are no parameters, and it doesn't initialize anything. Well, that's fine. That's all we really wanted. I've got a variable, but I'm not going to initialize it in the constructor. I'm going to update it here, okay? And that may be good or bad, but that's the way I'm going to do it, okay? So now what? Let's see. If I've got it, I need to set its bounds. So myViz dot set bounds. So this is just to locate it on the screen. I want it a little bit below my button, and maybe the left edge of it lined up with the left edge of my button. So I'm going to give it an X of 5, a Y of, okay, so if the top of my button is at 5 and it's 15 high, then the bottom of my button is at 20. I'm just going to make this at 25. Now if the width of my application is 600 and the left edge of this is 5, it's 5 away from the left edge, I want to make the right edge 5 away. So I'm going to just make this 590 wide. The top is 25 away, but that's because the button is there. I want it 5 from the bottom, and the height of my app is 400, so I'm just going to take 400 minus roughly 30 and go 370. Now all of this is a whole bunch of magic numbers, just numbers that are scattered about in my code, which is really bad style. And I want to, make sure that I make note of what I'm doing here is bad style. And as we mature as programmers, we will get away from putting magic numbers in our code. But for now, as beginners, it's a lot easier to just get something going. So we'll go ahead and do it. But it is a bad habit that I'm, in a way, sort of teaching you. I just want to make sure that I note that it's a bad habit so that you don't get so deep into it that you'll never be able to break it later. It's kind of a convenience for now. And then I just want to say this dot add myViz, because that's how we're going to make it place it on the J-frame. Let's run this, and I should see a black box where the WeHavViz is, right? No, I don't. Why not? Because the samples were never initialized. And it's because samples were never initialized. If they don't get initialized, it just returns and never paints anything. So we're not going to see anything on our screen until we initialize samples. I'll go another 5 minutes and then pause the video. Hopefully I can get this just about done. Up until this point, most of what we've been doing is you've seen similar things before. And so none of this at this point should be too terribly strange. And it's my hope that after you see things several times, just with slight variations, the patterns will start to emerge, and it'll all make sense, and you'll eventually get to a point where you can do more on your own. Anyway, so let's see. Somewhere in here, I want to update the WeHavViz. So I want to say something like myviz.update. And update it with what? When we tell this thing to update, it needs an array of shorts. But we don't have an array of shorts. We have a buffer. Well, I want to convert that buffer, so I'm going to write a convert method that will take in that buffer and return an array of shorts. I want to convert buffer, and of course we've not written a method to convert that buffer. So Java is saying, hey, do you want to create? You can fix this by creating the method. So I'm going to click on that and see what it put in for me. And it was pretty smart. It created a method that will take as input an array of bytes and send back as output an array of shorts. So that's exactly what we want. We just got to do the work in the middle. So this stub would compile and run, but it's still not going to do anything useful to us. So how am I going to get that array of shorts? All right. Well, if a byte is 8 bits, a short is 16 bits. It's 2 bytes. So if I've got some number of elements here, in the array of shorts that this thing returns, I'm only going to have half as many elements. So I'm just going to say short, and I'm just going to call it temp, because this is just a temporary variable here, equals new short array. And how many items in the array? Well, it's going to be byte. No, buffer2 is the name of the variable. Buffer2 dot length divided by 2. So when I create a new array, I have to tell the constructor how many objects are going to be in that array. And so that'll create the array in memory. Now I want to fill it up, and this filling it up is really the hardest part. I want to say something like for int I equals 0, I less than temp dot length. I plus plus. So that's essentially walking through the array. Now, here's a really tricky bit of code, and I'm just going to type it out and then explain it. Let's see. I'm going to type it out and then explain it in a separate video. So samples sub I equals open round bracket, short, 3 open round brackets, buffer 2, sub 2 times I plus 1, and, but it's a single and, not a double and, 0x capital F. Two less than symbols, and 8 plus, open round bracket, buffer 2, square bracket, 2 times I, single and, 0x ff. And then those are capital F's. Now that, I'm sure, looks strange to you. Oops, not samples, I'm sorry, temp. Let's see if this works. Nothing yet. Turn on the audio. Uh-oh. It doesn't draw. I'm missing something. Oh, I never told it to repaint. Okay. So every time I go through the loop, I've got to update my viz and then tell the application to repaint. Now, let's see if something happens. Nope. Nothing yet. What am I missing? Let's see. Why is paint component not being called? Silly me. I got almost done. I got excited. But convert is returning null. I should have returned temp. If it returns null and the thing it's returned is sent to update, and update just assigns what it got to samples. Samples never get set to anything other than null, and the paint component always just returns and never draws anything. So, yeah, I have to return the array. I went through all the work of converting this stuff. Now, hopefully, there's the magic. Whoa! Now that's cool. So the bars do definitely change based on what sounds we've got. Ooh, there's feedback. Eesh. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Bring that down. Gotta be careful when you've got a microphone feeding into speakers and the speakers are close to the microphone. So let's see, what can we do? I'll need to make a new video and explain this one really tricky line of code.